Welcome to the Stepmom Side with Alicia Crasco, the podcast for stepmoms ready to create the life they want and one they actually have a say in. Here we talk all things stepmom life and just a little bit more. Leave the superficial conversations at the door and get ready for perspective shifts and actionable advice to help you on your way to creating the life you want, one step at a time. Hey, welcome back to the Stepmom Side podcast. I'm your host, Alicia, and today we're diving into a topic that comes up all the time with stepmoms, whether I'm talking to them in my DMs, whether I'm talking to them inside the Stepmom Side community, whether I'm talking to them in one-on-one coaching, or even in my couples coaching, I'm talking to stepmoms about this too. And the topic is this: it's for stepmoms who don't have children of their own. It's the frustration of having to repeat yourself a million times and still feeling like the kids just don't get it or aren't listening to you. So this episode is really for the childless and the child-free stepmoms out there who are doing their absolute best and still feel like it's not landing. You're not alone in this. You're not imagining things. And most importantly, you're not doing it wrong. I want to start by telling you a little story I tell often because it's one that really opened my eyes. When I first became a stepmom, I truly believed that everything was going to work out fine. Everything was going to be great, right? Like, I like kids. Kids typically like me. Like, how bad could this be? Well, then when I started to realize that my stepkids didn't do things that I asked them to do, I thought that the reason my stepkids didn't do what I asked them to do was because I was their stepmom. I thought it was personal, that they didn't respect me or didn't take me seriously because I wasn't their real parent. But here's what I learned later on. My own daughter does this too. She forgets, she ignores, she needs reminders for things that I think should be second nature by this point in time. Maybe she's like in her own craft or she's like in her own, like whatever it is that she's doing. And she's just like task saturated already. But that's when I realized this isn't about being a stepmom. This is just kids being kids. And I'll say this to you. It is not you, because you and I could switch places and your stepkids would be doing the exact same thing to me. So it's not you. It's the role that you represent. It's not you. It's the role that you represent. But this thing specifically is just kids being kids. So if you don't have kids of your own, it's totally understandable that your expectations might be shaped by how adults operate, right? You say something once, they remember. You say something once to an adult and they remember, or maybe you like send them a text to like help them remind, or like help remind them. You explain the importance of something and they get it. Like, hey, please handle that vase very carefully. It's glass. If you drop it, it's going to break. They're like, okay, cool. Totally got it. Not so much with the kids, right? Like, how many times have you said, please don't jump on the couch? How many times have you said, take your shoes off when you come in? How many times have you said, brush your teeth? How many times have you said, you smell, take a shower? Like those kinds of things. What feels like defiance is often just developmentally normal behavior. Kids, even the big ones, don't operate on logic the way that we do. Remember, like our brains are supposed to be completely developed by the age of 25. And if you're listening to this, more chances than not, your kids are under the age of 18 and they're still living in your house, right? So they live in the moment. They forget. Their priorities are totally different than ours, especially if you have teens, right? Like they're so self-absorbed. They're like, oh, when am I going to get to hang out with my friends? I just got this car. Like, how often can I drive it? Hey, can I go to the game tonight? You know, everyone's having a sleepover. Can we do this? Like, they're not thinking about the things that we're thinking about. Their priorities are totally different. So when you're standing there thinking, I've reminded them to put their shoes away every single day. Why is this happening? You're not crazy. But you are holding yourself to a standard rooted in adult behavior, not kid reality. So let's talk about how kids learn, even the big kids. Kids learn through repetition. It's how their brains are wired. Their memory and executive functioning skills are still developing. Remember, their brain's not completely developed. So even teenagers are still learning how to manage their responsibilities. They want their responsibilities. Please hear me say that. They want their responsibilities. They want their independence. They, are naturally starting to pull away. But they still don't have it quite figured out yet, right? I mean, honestly, I don't think any of us do, but they're still developing and they are still learning how to manage all of the things. So yes, you will likely have to say the same thing over and over and over and over again. It might just be easier to like record it and then just like press play and just like play it out. It doesn't mean that they're not listening. It doesn't mean that they don't care. It means that their brains are still figuring it out. Also, if you don't have house expectations, I highly recommend that you implement some house expectations. I will link this free resource in the show notes, but house expectations will help you so freaking much. So now let's talk about the emotional part of it, because it feels personal, doesn't it? Like they're ignoring you on purpose. Like they're dismissing you because you're not their mom and you're not their dad and you can't tell me what to do. I don't have to listen to you, all of the things. That feeling, I'll just say this, that feeling is very real and it is 100% valid. But here's the truth. Most of the time, please hear that, most of the time, it's not personal. They're just being kids. They're distracted. They're focused on their own world. And you, little Miss Amazing Stepmom, are showing up and doing the work, even if it doesn't feel appreciated in the moment. So like I said earlier, you and I could switch roles, but your stepkids are going to show up and act the same towards me as they would you. And if you were at my house, my stepkids would act the exact same towards you as they would me. Let me just keep reminding you of that. So what can you do? Reframe the reminders. You're not nagging them, you're helping them build routines. And I think it's important to note here, if your stepkids go back and forth a lot more often, like several times a week, it's really hard to settle into a routine because they feel unsettled because they're back and forth so much. If you have a more consistent schedule, like let's say you do like half the week at one house, half the week at the other, or you do week on, week off, I think it's a little easier to set that up because then they have time to settle in. If you do like only school breaks or school holidays or summer vacation, and then they're only there like throughout the year, just like a few times, like a few days, it makes it that much harder. And you're like, oh my gosh. But here's how I want you to like reframe like that frustration is that maybe the other house is a little more lax. That's typically what I see. So if that other house is a little more lax, to come to your house where you have expectations, you have, routines and things of the sort, it's a little jarring to them. So give everyone a little bit of grace, like that first few hours, that first day that they're with you, and maybe set up a transition day routine where you guys order the same dinner, maybe you order the same lunch, and like you watch a movie or, play a game, whatever it is that night. Like it's just super chill, super low key. So reframe the reminders. You are not nagging, you are helping them build routines. Number 2, visual cues. Use checklists. Use a whiteboard, use a chalkboard or a chore chart to offload the mental load. Hang those up. So if you, like I had mentioned, house expectations, if you have house expectations, get you and your partner like individually come up with things that are important to you. Then you guys meet together and then you talk to the kids like, hey, we're thinking about setting up some house expectations. What do you guys think? Blah, blah, blah. I'll walk you through all of this with that free resource. But if you have this and you can print it out and they can see it, there you go. Like it's so much easier. It offloads that mental load for you. So you're not constantly like, hey, do this, do that. Especially if you've got young stepkids, you can set things up like in the bathroom. Okay, first do this, then this, then this. Or, if they need help with executive functioning, like when it comes to getting dressed, maybe you put your underwear on first, then put your socks on, put your pants or your shirt, or however it is that you want to do. And a lot of times, sometimes we get in the weeds. Sometimes we get in the weeds about like things have to be done our way. And things don't necessarily need to be done our way. Like it can be done a different way. Is it getting done? Yes, that's what we need to focus on. So reframe the reminders, visual cues, like that is so freaking helpful. Number 3 here, make it playful. Please use humor if you can. Please use humor. My husband used to say to me, Alicia, you will catch more bees with honey than you will with vinegar. And I'd be like, what I just need to tell them what I need to tell them. And he was like, no. We need to like find a kind way of saying things. So use humor. Maybe you can create a joke of how many days in a row you've reminded them. Or maybe you can say like, how many more times do I have to remind you until I can flip out? Like, when do you think that's feasible? Or how long do you think we can go without me reminding you? Or if you, maybe like me, had memorized your house expectations and you could say, well, number 3 says, and then you could say it kind of like in a silly voice, but try to make it playful. It's so much better, so much more helpful. The kids feel less attacked, less like you're trying to be a jerk, less all of the things. Like it's so much more helpful. Number 4, pick your battles. Not everything has to be a thing. Choose what really, really matters. And not everything has to be a thing, meaning If you are going to nitpick your stepkids about every single thing, hi, welcome, same. But everything is then a battle. And then you wonder why your house is feeling like chaotic, or like no one wants to be there, or it's too much. It's because everything is a battle. And then the kids feel weird. They feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I can do or what I can not do or say or not say. I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. And then it's like this vicious cycle. Now you're walking on eggshells, your partner's walking on eggshells. And then like you end up like on Zoom with me and you're like, what the hell is going on? Please help. So pick your battles. Not everything needs to be a thing. Not everything needs to be a thing. Like, make that like your mantra. Number 5, let go of immediate results. Let go of immediate results. Aim for consistency over perfection. I don't know about you, but I grew up in a house where if my mom said jump, I said immediately how high. And like that was that. Like it wasn't like I'll get to it in a minute. It was like jump now. And I try to be mindful of that because I don't want to pass that down to my stepkids or my own daughter. And so if I ask them to do something, I make sure that I make that connection first and say, hey, in 5 minutes time or 10 minutes time, let's do this. What would you rather? Would you rather do it in 5 minutes or would you rather do it in 10 minutes? And I would say progress over perfection. Baby steps forward are still steps forward. So we're not looking for leaps and bounds, because here's the thing. You have thought about this 800 million times and your stepkids probably haven't, because they're not like living in the world that we live in. I mean, they're living in their own kid world that like intersects with ours, but they're not like, okay, let's do all of the things. Okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? Okay, let's do those. No, they're not thinking like that. They're thinking, remember, like kids are very like self-driven. Like, okay, what's going to get me the things that I want and how do I go about doing that? So here's what this doesn't mean. Just because they need reminders, it doesn't mean that you're failing. Last I checked, this is probably the first time that you've ever been a stepmom. There is no guidebook on how to do this. If there were, it would be millions and millions of pages long for all of the nuances that come with being a stepmom. It also doesn't mean that they don't respect you. It means that they're kids. They're just living in their own world. They've got 800 different things going on too. Maybe they had a bad day at school. Maybe they fought with their friend. Maybe they didn't do well on a test. Maybe they're fighting with their mom. Maybe they didn't have a good sports practice. Maybe they just didn't sleep well last night. Maybe they don't feel good. Maybe they're getting sick. There's a million different things. It's not that they don't respect you. Also, it doesn't mean that you're not good at this. Again, this is probably your first time. I made so many mistakes. Remember I talked about nitpicking? Yeah, that, let me tell you, number one way like not to make friends as a stepmom with your stepkids, nitpicking, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, no, let's not do that. So just remember, you trying to help them, it means that you're showing up, you're being consistent, and that's what parenting is. Whether you are a biological mom, an adoptive mom, a foster mom, or a stepmom, parenting is just showing up and being consistent and doing things even when they're hard and not just letting them go. I will tell you this though. If you are parenting and you are striving for perfection, please stop. It's not going to go well. Everyone's going to make mistakes, you included. Strive for like 80-20. 80% of the time, most things go well. 20% of the time, like things are like off the rails. It's going to be okay. So if you're feeling exhausted by the constant reminders, please hear this. You are doing a good job. You are not alone. And this is normal. All of like the frustration that you feel, all of the annoyance that you feel, all of the are you freaking kidding me? How many times do I have to say this? I feel like I'm bashing my head into a wall. Completely normal. Completely normal. We talk about it inside the Stepmom Side community. If you want to come join us in there, aliciacrasco.com/community. Your role matters though. Your efforts, they also matter. Even if it feels like they aren't making an impact and they aren't doing anything, your role matters, your efforts matter. And the fact that you care enough to keep showing up, even when it feels like they don't get it, says everything about who you are. You're here, you're listening to this. Maybe you're inside the Stepmom Side community. Maybe you are in coaching with me. Maybe you are following all the stepmom coaches that you can find on social media. Maybe you're signing up for all of the free resources. You keep showing up. You keep caring. You keep doing all of the right things, or you keep trying to do all of the right things. Your role matters. Your efforts matter. I am over here in my little office recording my podcast, every week for you to listen and like gain some insight. I'm over here cheering you on, even though I'm not like, hey, insert your name. Like, I'm over here cheering you on. If this podcast episode resonated with you, send me a message. I'm just at Alicia Crasco on Instagram. I would love to hear like what resonated with you, or like, oh my gosh, like you get it. Like, yeah, it's really frustrating. Like, I totally see you. But thank you for tuning in, and I will chat with you next week. Thanks for taking time to listen to this week's episode. If anything was helpful or resonated with you, please share it on social media and tag me. I'm just at Alicia Crasco. And if you could leave a 5-star rating and a review while you're at it, that would also be really helpful. And if you find yourself struggling with your stepmom journey and you want a little bit more support without the hefty price tag of coaching, you might want to check out the Stepmom Side community, which is my own private community for stepmoms, where you get to connect with other stepmoms around the world and myself, where I hold weekly office hours and monthly group coaching. It's kind of like you have your own personal coach in your own back pocket. Again, without that hefty price tag. See you next week.